We are back on the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast. Welcome home. Thank you for joining us. Dave, how was your concert weekend, my friend?
It was great, man. Thank you. Saw your hometown guys. Saturdays at your place. Casual emo shout out from Kalamazoo, Michigan. It was a great time. Got to do the podcast on the road. It was a good episode. So no complaints here. It was a all good weekend.
Do you feel like an NFL team, like fresh off of a big away trip, maybe even an overseas trip, and now you're back in your friendly confines, like good to go?
I do feel like I came back overseas, and topically with the NFL wrapping up its overseas series, we're perfectly aligned.
It's that time of the season. You got to hit the ground running. There's playoff runs to make at this point, Dave. I'm looking forward to it. On today's show, we'll do takeaways from week 11. We will discuss some wins from the weekend. There were plenty of them. We've got an early preview for you for NFL week 12. Dave's fantasy waiver wire is back. College corner from me and plenty more, including some PGA and some NBA King of the Court discussion at the end of the show. But first, let's take a look back at some wins from last week with Should Have Bet That.
Should have bet that.
3-0 week for the college corner last week. Let's go. You love it. And then my personal college hoops vengeance play went well as well. I had the Purdue hint. I liked the Boilers. That worked. And then Arizona minus 1.5 up to minus 3.5 in that game. So college picks are feeling good right now. What else did we touch that turned to gold last week?
Yeah, very good week if you tailed Greg on any facet. Last week's early spreads from our Tuesday show, which is this episode, went 3-0. Those were also all underdogs who won outright. Bears, Panthers, and the Broncos. So lots of really good early value in that one, showing the benefit of jumping on some of those spreads early. We'll look at 3 more today. Bunch of close calls. My plays of the week came up short. Needed a Gibbs TD for the Dimers TD parlay. Somehow gets like 140 total yards and doesn't find the end zone in a game that I know you're aware the Lions did not score a touchdown. And then Trey Tucker, my little Trey Tucker ladder touchdown. He got the score, about 48 yards. But Geno Smith, despite not running the ball like one singular time, I believe, in the entire game, they were unable to move the ball against the Cowboys defense. But we got some close calls. We got some wins. And as always, we will be back again with some more on Thursday.
Yeah, I'd say we had a very good week collectively as a unit that was like this close to the tipping point of being a great week. And we can blame my running back. We can blame Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Jared Goff's hands are still shaking right now. Remind me to never back the Lions in cold weather ever again. But hey, we've got opportunities in front of us this week to get across that finish line and end up with some great wins in addition to this. Reminder, folks, Dimers Pro is the tool that we are using to help us form these cards every single week. If you use promo code podcast, you can get 50% off of Dimers Pro. You can access all of this data in real time yourself. Anytime there's line movement, anytime edges are changing, which side of the bet should you be on? Dimers Pro can help you navigate it all. So take advantage of that 50% offer. You don't want to miss it anymore. It's helped us to a very profitable season, and there's still plenty of weeks left in the NFL to bat. It's time for week 12, but first we want to look back at week 11 a little bit and run through some takeaways from week 11. What do you got?
So first of all, it is absolutely over for these players. Ramondre Stevenson, Xavier Worthy, Geno Smith, Rashad White, just absolute door closing performances, I think, in week 11. We'll start with Ramondre. If the week before was the Henderson game we were always waiting for, this week launched him into darling status. It's going to be really hard to look back once Ramondre returns healthy after a 3 TD performance and 4 straight games of 75 plus yards or more for Travion Henderson. This week, we project Ramondre for 6.8 PPR points compared to 14.9 by Henderson. One of the quickest changing of the guards I think we've seen in a backfield, actually reflected in the Dimers projections on a quick turnaround. Like, I'm not going to drop Ramondre if you have him in fantasy. You never know what happens. You don't want to be dropping a guy who's still part of a committee, in theory anyway. And you never know if there's an injury. He could, to Henderson, he'll immediately become relevant again. but I'm not betting on him unless there's, like I just said, a can't miss opportunity. He's just going to be taking a back seat, and it's the Henderson show from here on out in New England. Geno Smith, surely in a game that the Raiders simply did not run the ball, Geno Smith dominated the Cowboys defense, carved them up, and produced multiple 100-yard receivers. None of that happened. Nope, he got 238 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. This was always a bad fit in Vegas. It should have been Jameis, instead of Geno for this, because you're basically getting the same upside and at least a more entertaining floor if the same floor is 0. But
on that note,
got
how fun was it to see Jameis again? Like it was a great week, but they moved the ball. He had some big plays. I loved every second of it.
Yeah, and something the Raiders could really do is moving the ball with a guy who will just chuck the ball downfield without a care in the world. But Geno Smith doesn't do that. Jameis does. Got a $7 million cap hit next year. So good luck, Mark Davis, with this. Only Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward project lower for worse weeks in the Dimers model. So Geno Smith, it was nice, but see ya.
I have a Jameis theory here that I want to run by you, and it's total conspiracy G again, but I think I figured him out finally. He's too good to be a tanking organization's quarterback. That's all it is. So like all these teams that have really middling, horrible quarterbacks, it's because they want to have horrible quarterbacks for a year. He's like the perfect backup on a contender, but at the same time, real contenders want someone a little more trustworthy than Jameis to be their backup. So it leaves him in this weird spot where like he's clearly a top 32 talent on earth, but there isn't a perfect fit. And I don't know what to do with New York. They probably should tank now. I think Jameis is a little too good to drive them off the cliff, but maybe they just want to give their fans something to be happy about with all of these injuries. And Jameis can serve that role.
Yeah. The Geno Smith New York Jets reunion is inevitable at this point. Xavier Worthy, you are not worthy, actually. You are not doing anything as far as wide receiver 2 numbers. I dropped him in one league with roster crunch. Wasn't even that tough of a decision. After his injury, he didn't seize the opportunity with Rice still out for several games, 3 catches or fewer in 4 of his past 5, since hasn't scored a touchdown since his lone touchdown in week 6. It's under 30 yards in 3 of these games recently. It's crazy. They sorely need him to produce, as the Chiefs constantly, they're showing the potential, but it's unreached because they just do not have the weapons to seemingly unlock the tier of Patrick Mahomes that we're used to seeing this year. And Xavier Worthy, I would not be starting him. I would not be betting on him. Would pretty much just stay away in all facets. And topically, key waiver wire pickup last week contributed to this, but Rachaad White, your time in Tampa Bay is over as a viable fantasy or betting asset. Bucky Irving may be back this week. Sean Tucker just dropped 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards, under 40 rushing yards in 3 of his past 4 games. That's Rachaad White. Sorry, not Sean Tucker. Only 4.6 PPR points projected for Rachaad White in our early projections. If you have him in fantasy, I would be very, very cautious about starting him. If you have been deploying him as a key running back asset, it's just not looking too good on the horizon for this crop of fellows.
Sean Tucker's good. I know we very briefly touched on it earlier last week, but I just, if Bucky is back, I won't be surprised to see Sean Tucker completely overtake Rachaad. I know Rachaad can do some stuff in the pass game, but Tucker looks the part of like a legitimate running back in this league. So something to keep an eye on. Hopefully you got some value out of Rachaad in previous weeks. I think you're right to call that one over. Let's talk injuries. It's not fun, but it feels like this is the story of the NFL at this point in the season every single year. We saw plenty of guys go down this week, most notably Josh Jacobs, left in the second quarter, never returned. Early reports are saying the injury isn't season ending, but it's going to be at least an extended time missed here, probably multiple games, possibly a month. This is pretty significant because it's Josh Jacobs. He rarely ever misses time due to injury, which to me, he's one of the toughest guys in this whole league. If he is out for weeks and we're not really even floating the possibility he could play through it, probably a real concern.
Yeah, the MetLife turf monster rises up and rears its ugly head again. This time, a contusion, not a torn ACL, I guess, but still enough to knock him out of the remainder of the game. not even the only injury they took in that game. Jordan Love got banged up with a shoulder injury. Watched Malik Willis run a touchdown drive. So I guess it wasn't all bad there. But yeah, I mean, this isn't good for the Packers. They're struggling a ton on offense. He's been their lone stabilizing piece, pretty much the only guy who's consistently moving the ball for them. You do have a rare 1-for-1 replacement, at least as far as like a fantasy starter goes, with Emmanuel Wilson. But, he's not Josh Jacobs. I don't think they're going to 1-for-1 replace his production. However, there's basically no one behind him on the depth chart. Chris Brooks has 3 carries this year. That's literally it for a running back behind Jacobs and Wilson. 11 carries, 40 yards, and a TD for him in relief of Josh Jacobs on Sunday. I'll talk about him a little bit more when we get to the fantasy waiver wire, but yeah, he's going to be a top ad. So even if it's just a couple weeks rental, Falcons also won with 2 major injuries, including quarterback and their top wide receiver, Drake London. He's already been ruled out for week 12, possibly longer. They lost Penix in this game as well. I believe the same knee injury aggravated that he had earlier this season. So now you're going to be starting Kirk Cousins without his top target. I mean, I don't know how much more like useless he could be. And I don't even mean that to be like negative, or like insulting, but I mean, he was 21 for 13 of 21, I think, 173 yards in the Dolphins blowout. Like, just did not get anything going. 6 for 14 for 48 yards in relief this Sunday. Kyle Pitts is doing okay. Doesn't look like the total bust that he has in the past, but he doesn't get any separation. Darnell Mooney hasn't done anything all year. Maybe Bijan Robinson benefits here, but he's constantly being vultured by Tyler Algier, including this past week. And now the defense is just going to have to sell out to stop Bijan because they're not going to be afraid of anything else in this offense. So pretty tough go here for the Falcons, who we talked about last week as their season probably already being over, and now it is.
Yeah, I feel bad for Falcons fans because there was a lot of reason for real optimism, I think, coming into this season. Penix looked like a legitimate guy, and he still might be. But, Drake London's had some pretty amazing performances this year. To see this potentially be it for him, or at least for a couple weeks, is frustrating, to say the least, for fantasy owners and just people that like watching good football. Kirk is long past the point of, I think, retirement, to be honest. I like Kirk Cousins. That was my quarterback in college back at Michigan State all the way back in the day. But he just the fact that he's made it this far in his career is a testament to him. When Minnesota said, no, give us Sam Darnold, that was probably the moment we could have moved on from this. And I feel bad because to me, I feel like I'm going to be looking to fade Atlanta in various ways. I probably wouldn't touch any part of this offense from a fantasy perspective. Maybe you'll feel differently later in the show. But for me, this is like a circle ways to bet against them team right now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think the only thing I would be looking at really is like Tyler Algier, because he's probably going to become even more of a vulture if they happen to get close enough to be scoring like that. Aren't you going to treat Bijan with, paper gloves, whatever the phrase is, with the season basically lost? I mean, the guy's the most valuable asset on this team. You have to be careful when you're playing these meaningless games.
Yeah, from one very old quarterback to another.
Yeah,
I had to get that segue in. I was so excited.
Of course.
Possible wrist fracture. Poor 12. Poor Aaron Rodgers. Then you've also got Jaylen Warren, who, one of the vaguest injuries in the league right now. He's claiming that it's minor, but there's not really any real specifics anywhere on this. So What do we do with the Steelers duo?
You kind of got to wait and see, honestly. I mean, I think the thing with Rodgers is it's his left hand, so it's his non-throwing hand. So I guess it's not directly going to impact like his throwing ability, but you still got to take a snap. You still might have to push a guy off of you with that left arm, so it's not great if it's actually broken. Good matchup here with the Bears. So the two of them being available is pretty huge for the Steelers. Chicago's like very pass vulnerable and allowing over 5 yards per carry on the ground. So Warren was in a smash spot. If he's healthy, you're good to go. Fire him up. But if he's limited or out, Kenneth Gainwell is going to be in a really good spot here. Again, I'm going to talk about him more in the waiver wire, so I won't talk it to death here, but he's produced well in Warren's previous absences. Really good PPR volume, lots of receptions and targets. So look for Gainwell to maybe have a, pushing maybe a season best game this week if Warren is completely out. As far as the passing game, I think you just got to wait and see what the deal is with Rodgers in this. I'm desperately hoping Jackson Dart is back from concussion protocol. Otherwise, I will be firing up Aaron Rodgers in the league that I had to pick him up in this past week, and I really don't want to do that. So please.
Yeah, please is right. Steelers are a team that just I've lost interest in. I'm sorry. Again, maybe it's just the old quarterback syndrome in me, but as feisty as they have been at times this year, they can go into some very offensive dry spell periods, and that's when they're fully healthy, let alone when both Warren and Rodgers are trying to play through injuries. So something to monitor. Yeah, something to monitor for sure from a team that really came out the gates extremely hot. That division is anyone's guess right now. I don't know what to do with it. Lastly, you've got a Super Bowl theory here. You want to explain this one to me?
Yeah, I mean, it just looks like the Rams and Patriots are heading towards a Super Bowl featuring Mike Vrabel, proof that time is a flat circle. As always, we don't have our NFL futures update yet. It'll be probably on site later today when we finish processing the week that was. But the eye test says these teams are heading for a collision course in February. Pats are clicking all around. I said this last week that their schedule leaves a lot to be desired. Haven't beaten one singular division leader. That was the Bucks, who are now looking a little shaky, but they keep winning. The defense is so good. And I just like, what else can you say about the Rams? They've beaten top contenders all season long. A freak play away from beating the Eagles. Absolute wagon. Plus 2,700 on FanDuel is worth a nice little pizza money head-to-head matchup for me. And if you think you have the edge on who's going to win, you'll get even better odds picking the exact result. So just looks like it's on a pretty much collision course, like I said. And it's just kind of funny to me that we're coming full circle here with Patriots, Vrabel, and the Super Bowl and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you believe in destiny? I guess we'll have to wait and see. The league's in a weird spot, man. NFL is still, don't get me wrong, it's a great product. It's fun to bet on. We've been making money on it with the model this year. But after that Broncos win, Bo Nix said, yeah, give them credit. They played us really tough. He's talking about Patrick Mahomes. That's Bo Nix giving Patrick Mahomes credit for playing them tough. It is just a wide open season. Like these teams are supposed to be dominant. We talked about it with Josh Allen and the Bills. They're vulnerable. The Chiefs are not the Chiefs this year. The Ravens have been dead all season long. It's kind of anyone's game. And yeah, the Pats are right in the mix. Maybe we should be looking closer at the Rams, to be honest with you, because they've been dominant and they've done it before. Matthew Stafford has led them to the peak of this sport before. So that has my attention. But I think you're onto something. There's going to be somebody that's going to feel shocking in the Super Bowl this year. And if you can pinpoint it, we'll give you credit for that. 27-1 is pretty tasty to me. All right. Thank you for your takeaways, Dave. It's time for week 12. Let's take an early look at our best against the spread values.
The early edge.
You mentioned at the top, we swept on the early value last week, just continuing to emphasize how important it is to use the model's data and get out in front of some of the line movements that you will see in this league. Where do we start this week?
Yeah, I'll just follow up as well that the Broncos pick did hold the value through the week. We saw that one on the Thursday show, locked that in as a best bet. But the other two were not showing, the importance of sometimes grabbing that early number, even if, sometimes you got to wait until Sunday to really know how everything's going to play out. But we're going to start this week with, pull these up while we do this. My guys, the Cowboys plus 3.5. Oop, I got plus 2.5 on here. Let me change that real quick. Plus 3.5 versus the Eagles at home, which is good for them because they certainly play better under the Texas lights. And top spread probability of the week, 58.9%, 6.5% edge. I love to see the Cowboys in here, though now I have to confidently make the pitch for my team, but I think I can do that this week. Defense looked pretty improved last night. Granted, it was the Raiders, but still, bad and mid teams have taken the Cowboys to task this year. They were firmly in control of the game for the final 3 quarters after a couple offensive road bumps early on. Projected final score of 25-23 is a full 2 points within the number. So that's a little extra confidence here for me. Pretty sure the 48.5 point total is the exact same as week 1, which is just kind of funny that the books basically envision. I think this was a 3.5 point spread in week 1. This is literally the books see a pretty much on paper matchup identical to pretty much the opening game of the season. So interesting stuff there, 12 weeks apart. But Eagles haven't looked their best in the past 2 weeks. Yes, they've won, but they won 16-9, 10-7 in their last 2 games. Have not really seen the offensive upside since week 8 versus the Giants. Not a coincidence. That's the last time we saw Saquon Barkley look his best. Now they have no Lane Johnson. So I think the question is, can this team even pull off a tush push on this Sunday? It remains to be seen. No Jason Kelce, no Lane Johnson. This is an unprecedented tush push formation that we'll be getting out there this week. So the Cowboys get this at home. Like I said, they hung with the Eagles. I think it was 24-20 in week 1. Every chance to win that game, if not for the CeeDee Lamb late drops. I think there's some big games in play for the Eagles skill position guys, certainly. But I think the same applies for the Cowboys. We've got a beefy 58% TD probability for Javonte Williams in this. No Eagle clears 50%. You have Hurts and Saquon at 48%, 47%. But, they're giving the best scoring upside to the Cowboys running back here. And I think this feels like maybe an oversimplification, but if the Cowboys just don't cowboy it up, I see no reason they can't hang close or win this game. I'm pretty sure we've got underdog value on them in the model. So this is one I like. Hope I don't get burned by my squad, but lines up pretty well for me. I'm in this one.
Yeah, if we're using cowboy as a verb, I mean, we've talked about it on the program all season long. It's probably been the strongest trend in NFL betting for us this year. Just take the underdog and take the over in Cowboys games and call it a day. It's mostly held true. It hasn't had a perfect record like it did midway through the first half of the season. But, this always has my attention. And I think the vulnerabilities with Philadelphia are real. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is not sour grapes from them beating my team in a primetime game. But I really thought the Philadelphia of old would have ran away with that game. I think there are some serious questions with their offense right now with the injuries on the line. I think, if you listen, use your eyes here, A.J. Brown is frustrated. Like, there are guys frustrated with both the lack of production and their individual roles in this offense. Don't get me wrong, give them credit. Defensively, what they did to Detroit was pretty great. But a big part of that game truly was just where it was being played, the cold weather, Jared Goff having his head on Pluto, and the Eagles not being able to create separation, even though it was right there. So I'm intrigued. I think Dallas is coming with some momentum to this game, catching a key number 3.5. I like Dallas's chances. I like that as the first play of the week. Next up is the Cards against the Jaguars. Not a key football number here, which I never like, but 2.5 for Arizona. Talk me through this one.
Yeah, 58.2% probability, 8.2% edge. So that's the highest value of all the plays on here. It's at plus money, so that is why. The Jaguars got to be the most frequent team by inclusion in matchups that we've seen, I think, in this segment. Good 5 or so times we've talked about them between best bets and early spread value. Fortunately, couldn't get them right the past 2 weeks. They completely blew it when we tailed them against the Texans, and they looked like world beaters when we faded them this past week against the Chargers, which in hindsight, maybe the problems on the Chargers offensive line are, I don't want to say bigger than they seem, but perhaps insurmountable for a team when if they can't get anything going. I mean, Justin Herbert was running for his life in that game. They smartly took him out, probably too late, but Jaguars' very poor passing defense did manage to stave them off thanks to their complete tissue paper offensive line in LA. So I don't think that's going to be the case this week. It is not the same situation. And this is a Jags team that has kind of been an enigma this season. They lost to Davis Mills just last week. They barely beat the Raiders in overtime just 2 weeks ago. And that was after having gritty wins versus the 49ers and the Chiefs. They just kind of seem to play to the level of their opponent for the most part, for better or worse. Generally makes a hard team to bet on or against because you kind of just don't know what they're going to have in store. Aside from the Cowboys win a couple weeks ago, the Cardinals team has not covered this number since the infamous Titans loss in Week 5. They lost that game and covered the 2.5. They were favored in it. Jacoby Brissett went freak show mode this past week with 452 passing yards. They still lost 41-22, and that was with a 12-point fourth quarter by Arizona. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to fade the model on this one. It's a strong value. You're getting plus money on a spread, which is very rare, on a standard spread anyway. But I do think there are plenty of reasons to attack this Jaguars team, but I just think it's kind of a wait and see for me. See if this value holds up closer to the week when, we'll get probably some news on whether or not Marvin Harrison Jr. is playing. Feel like that would be pretty quick to turn around from appendicitis surgery, but he's not been ruled out. And I'm seeing stuff that says he's in line to play, but what do I know? So, and just to make things more convoluted, these teams are both 5-5 against the spread this year. It just feels like a complete toss up.
Yeah, it's a coin flip. I don't mind taking the underdog in a coin flip game like this, especially when a team as inconsistent as Jacksonville is coming off such a brilliant performance. Like their identity is inconsistency. You come off a 35-6 win, you would expect it to even out a little bit. The interesting thing for me here with Jacksonville, I thought they incorporated Tootin a lot more this past week for really the first time. I don't know if that's here to stay, but he was involved early in that game in the first half, getting a lot more work than is typical. I thought he was fine. I mean, he finished with 74 rushing yards. We've seen Etienne have a couple games over 100 this year. I don't know that there's as much big play potential with Tootin. I think that would be a detriment to their offense if they're trying to go to a real two-back timeshare and or trying to give him more of the running back one reps. It might be a good time to invest in fading Jacksonville given that development. And the one thing I would say, I know it's become kind of a punchline from me on these shows. I really believe key numbers in football betting are one of the most important things. And like you said, it's plus money here showing value at even odds at plus 2.5. You can bet this up a point or even a half a point to plus 3. And we'd have to run the numbers to see if our model still says that it shows value. But I mean, with a 58% probability at even money at plus 2.5, giving yourself an extra point to get it to a field goal, to me, is the way I would end up playing this. Just in terms of raw data on this, Jacksonville's played 4 games that they've won this season that were decided by 1 score or less. They've won a game by 3 points or less twice. I think there's a good chance this comes down to the wire and you'd want a full field goal if you're backing Arizona.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You have to assume that the extra half point or even a full point would push this probability. I'm saying this with assumptions, but if it's 58% here, 62, 64%, that is certainly going to be within the range of value for what you're assuming is then probably minus 120, minus 130 on that spread. So would still be a value play in theory. And who knows if this spread moves, we'll find out for sure when that happens.
Yep. All right. Last but not least, it's another underdog. We're taking 3 teams that are catching points this week. It's the Minnesota Vikings plus 6.5 against the Packers. JJ McCarthy tried to go back into his bag of heroics last week. In fact, he led Minnesota to a touchdown drive to take the lead against Chicago. However, Ben Johnson's horseshoe is still working. And I don't know what to do with Minnesota at this point. It's been different quarterbacks under center. I think they're clearly more dynamic with McCarthy. At the same time, he went 3 quarters without anything. He did not complete a pass until the final drive of this game in the second half. Green Bay looks iffy as well. They've got plenty of questions. So I don't mind backing Minnesota in a bounce back spot, catching almost a full touchdown here. How do you see this, Dave?
If there was a time for the Vikings to get a statement win, or at least, really look good and competitive in a game against what is still a top tier contender. I'm saying that with air quotes if you're listening. It would be now. I mean, the Packers are struggling badly, pretty much just as bad as the Vikings are, I think, lately. Now they're without their best player, primary ball mover, Josh Jacobs. Really strong 57% probability here. The past 3 games started by JJ. The Vikings have an upset win over the Lions, 2-point loss to the Bears, and then the 9-point loss to the Ravens. So they're hanging in there. 2 wins and 2 one-score losses in the Wentz games, 1 blowout to the Chargers, who, again, just kind of another enigma with some of these teams with who they decide to show up against and how those teams look otherwise. But both teams are losing records against the spread. But the Packers are just 3-7 this year, constantly disappointing or playing down to their opponents, not even to their level, just simply playing down to them. Only a 40.5-point total. So I think this has real upset chance for the Vikings. Personally, Dimer's model says 27.3%. No value to speak of. You want close to plus 280 for fair odds around that. But if McCarthy can just play a clean game, no picks, no really bad decisions. Sacks are probably inevitable given the Micah Parsons factor, but there's no reason to think they can't hang within a touchdown. I think low total says it's going to, implies that it's going to be a really low scoring, tightly contested game. And I'm more scared of backing the Packers to cover a touchdown with what we've seen from them and now without their best player than I would be the Vikings, who have still shown that they can hang in games, to not pull it off. So model aside, I would just rather take the Vikings in this spot. I think it's just the better spot for them. They're not dealing with a sudden change to their offense like the Packers are. Anytime you lose a key player, you only have 1 week to figure things out. And the Vikings don't really have to worry about this week. And just a little Dimer's model insight. Per our resulting tool, which is what goes into the model reports, you can look up team by team in there. And I took a look at the Vikings because we've seen them featured in here several times. Positive ROI across 9 spreads, 4 money line plays, and 3 total bets this season. One of the teams the model's been more accurate on this year, notably the bets with them on the road, proving profitable, what we have here, and a sweet spot edge of 2.5 or 2 through 5%. Is right where this bet is. So in what I'm saying is when we add the sweet spot feature to the website, this is literally a bet that would pop up with the sweet spot signal, tell you that it has been a profitable spot. It's backed by high value, backed by the model, and has more than one season-long trends from the model in its favor between Vikings road games, Vikings covering. So yeah, while it might seem maybe like the scariest one because the Vikings aren't frankly very good, I just think it might be the most logical spot of these 3.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way when you look back at how our model has performed this season, specifically to Minnesota. I think it's a good time to fade Green Bay too. We talked about Jacobs' injury. I mean, this is an offense that has so many moving parts. Feels like they don't know who they're throwing to any given week, and even Jordan Love was banged up. To remove the one constant thing they can turn to, and we don't know what it's going to look like. That's a huge loss. That's a bigger loss than I think it even is on paper when you really start to think about how it's going to affect them in the middle of this game. Minnesota can keep games close with anybody. That's been well established, especially with McCarthy, who really seems like he has some of that, how are they in this game, Tim Tebow vibes to him. But all of a sudden you get down to 1 drive remaining and he's going to make the plays to get you across the finish line. So I like this spot a lot. I'm on Minnesota. I think I'm taking all 3 of these, to be honest with you. I got to get that Arizona number to 3, but if you get it to 3, lock these to my card, Dave.
Yeah, love that. I'll be planning to do the same, at least for maybe a little early value parlay. But yeah, definitely think it's worth buying that point or half point even if you want the push or if you want the 3.5, whatever for the Cardinals.
There we go. All right, Dimers Pro, 50% off, promo code podcast. You hear us plug it every episode. Make sure you take advantage so you can come back and check in on all of these games, line movement in real time. Without further ado, let's move to your fantasy waiver wire for week 12.
The fantasy waiver wire.
So, as I mention every week here, if you don't play fantasy, this segment's got some juice for you. Like Sean Tucker, 3 touchdown juice. One of our top pickups of the week last week. If you played him, I got sniped by him in multiple leagues. I tried to pick him up by the guy in I'm not going to swear, in frickin' first place in my league, getting Sean Tucker and rattling off a 30-point performance while I had to sit and watch my Trey Tucker, the other Tucker, who I got as a consolation prize, not do what I wanted him to do. But we're back. We got 4 teams on bye this week. Broncos, Chargers, Dolphins, Commanders. So a good bit of wide receivers and running backs out there. I mean, some people will be missing Justin Herbert, Bo Nix. So we've got some good pickups for you here. Sean Tucker, by the way, still only 28% rostered. So if he's out
Add
there,
him, pick him up.
Yeah. It's over for Rachaad White. Bucky Irving might be back, but I don't think they're going to just thrust him into his regular role after how long it's taken him to get back and the mysterious nature of his injury. So yeah, Sean Tucker's still out there, but we're moving on with our latest guys. Top overall has got to be Emmanuel Wilson, only 10% rostered on Yahoo leagues. Immediately slots in as Packers RB1. As I mentioned, only 3 carries in this entire offense all season long by any running back not named Josh Jacobs or Emmanuel Wilson. Should, in theory, have a couple of weeks as the starter, unless Josh Jacobs surprisingly returns next week, but projected for 10.5 PPR points, 55.3 rushing yards, and a 36% TD probability. However, this is without Jacobs officially ruled out yet. Those numbers will spike if and when, which we assume that will happen. Kenneth Gainwell, second running back pickup to target. He's 34% rostered. Probably seen him get added and dropped in your league throughout the year. I've had him at least once or twice. Talked about him earlier as well. Could immediately slot in as the RB1 if Warren sits. Even if he doesn't, he's still got some pretty good PPR upside. He has 3 games with at least 6 receptions, coming off an 81-yard receiving game, 2 games with 2 touchdowns. We project him for 12.4 PPR points, 37 rushing yards, 2.8 receptions, 18.7 receiving yards, and a 48% TD probability. Also still with Warren in the projections here. Moving to wide receivers, the guy who went off and probably victimized someone else besides just me in his 30-point outing, but Michael Wilson is up to 48% rostered, I believe, across Yahoo League. So pushing the threshold here was certainly a popular pickup with my Marvin Harrison Jr. ruled out this past week. Not sure if he will be out again, recovering from the appendicitis surgery, but Wilson just had the best performance of a Cardinal wide receiver this year. Didn't even score, but caught 15 of 18 targets for like $150. Even if MHJ returns, he's got upside versus the Jaguars passing defense that probably got away with one last week, as we said. 11.5 PPR points, 4.2 receptions, 50.4 yards, and a 28% TD probability. Christian Watson, another wide receiver to target. His rostership has been creeping up slowly, but still under the 50% threshold, 35%. He's been really consistent in his return. 2 or 4 catches in every game. He's got the yards to match that. I think one 85-yard game. Others have been 54, 45, 46 or so. Finally caught a pair of touchdowns to match this past week. Packers really need to get him more looks. I don't really understand it. They paid him while he was hurt and haven't been doing enough with him. He's a good contested catch guy, just not getting enough volume to really do that. They really badly need to establish a wide receiver one without Tucker Kraft, who is their best receiver at tight end, and now Josh Jacobs hurt. It's not like Romeo Doubs is emerging and running away with this here. Christian Watson needs to get the ball more, needs to be a focused part of this offense. So temper your expectations, but I think he's a solid flex if you need. It's got to get going at some point. 8.7 PPR points, 41.7 yards, 28% TD probability. Not blowing it away. You're hoping for some upside here, but you got to be aware there's a dangerously low floor for a player who should not have one as bad as it is. One QB from me, Bryce Young, only 13% rostered. That's pretty surprising to me, to be honest. There have been some really mid QBs and injuries this year, but it's pretty bleak out there if you need a quarterback. And why not go with the guy who's coming off a franchise record-setting performance against a team now that just allowed a nearly identical performance to Jacoby Brissett this past week. 16.8 points, 207.7 passing yards for Bryce Young. And one tight end for you, a guy who's been on here before, but remains under the threshold as he's been added and dropped. Juwan Johnson, 47% rostered, sneakily been usable all year long, coming off back-to-back games with a TD, 5 games with 50-plus yards this season, 3 with 70-plus. You can't ask for much more than that from a low-end tight end one. We projected for 10.2 PPR points, just under 4 receptions, 40.8 yards, and a substantial 32% TD probability. There's your guys this week. As always, the nature of doing this is on Tuesdays right after the NFL week, so it's a pretty quick turnaround. Doesn't have a ton of shelf life here, so if you don't catch these guys on Tuesday night, see if they're still available on Wednesday morning or throughout the week. And again, consider the betting opportunities on these guys as well. I would check the Dimers website for any props or value on any of these guys mentioned in this segment, because we're looking at opportunity here, and if the model finds value in those opportunities, you'll find a betting spot online.
I'm workshopping reverse correlation ways to bet these. So Emmanuel Wilson, Christian Watson touchdown with Vikings plus 6.5.
That sounds like the ultimate podcast chaos play.
I mean, why not, right? No, I was sitting back watching Sean Tucker explode last week. Like, okay, I can't wait to back whoever's on the waiver wire this week. And just so happens 40% of this is Packers. So I'm going to have to come to terms with that. But no, he's been great. When he came back for his debut, he had some insane lines in terms of props with the books too. I think he was like 18-1 to finish with 4 catches in that game.
Wow.
He's the most talented guy in that receiver room. He really is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been health. It's been availability for him his entire career. When he is 100%, they want him featured as a wide receiver one in a way they have not utilized Romeo Doubs. So if he is on the waiver wire, I highly endorse that play. And especially without Josh Jacobs now, I think I would turn my attention towards Watson even more so than I might Emmanuel Wilson, but both warrant being on this list for sure, Dave. So thank you for the intel as always. Okay, now it's my turn. Let's go. Let's go to our college corner next.
College Corner.
3-0 sweep on college football picks last week in this segment. As alluded to, the 2 college basketball plays that were discussed with my personal picks on Thursday were also winners. So I'm feeling some momentum right now, Dave. It's time to ride the hot hand. We start with Michigan State and Iowa in Big Ten country, and we are locking in under 42.5 here. Now, I got to admit, this is really ugly. Right? It's not the fun game to bet. It's not the fun game to say out loud. If you're watching this game, wear a helmet. This is gross football all around. However, gross football usually leads to some unders. There's value at this number for sure. Michigan State is coming off really this is our end-all be-all game last week in East Lansing against Penn State. They needed to win to retain any small outside chance at bowl eligibility. They lost 28-10. In that game, the starting quarterback from the beginning of the season, Aiden Childs, was standing on the sideline in a boot. Nobody knew what his injury was. We still don't know what his injury is. I'll tell you what the injury is. It's I'm transferring in a couple months. The backup quarterback who's running the show was billed as a big-time accurate passer. He just didn't look the part whatsoever against a Penn State defense that he mustered 10 points against. Now enter the Iowa defense that's amazing. Iowa has really looked the part this season, and I thought performed really admirably in Los Angeles against USC last week. This would be a game, genuinely, I would not be surprised if Michigan State doesn't find the end zone. And you look at Iowa, I mean, they're a good, not great offense, but this is still not a team you can rely on consistently to score more than, low 20s, 20 to 24 points week to week. Under 42.5, good number as well. 6 full touchdowns is my favorite personal play of the week, and the model agrees with a really high edge here. Going to go to a second play that's very similar in theory here. Illinois and Wisconsin, another Big Ten matchup, also taking an under here at 41.5. Now, Illinois is coming off their lowest scoring game of the year, 30 combined points against Maryland at home in Champaign. Is that a sign of things to come? Is that just a weird anomaly performance? I don't really know. but I do know that Maryland has played a lot of high-scoring games this year. So for that total to end up 30 feels like something has changed. Either Illinois has found some answers, gotten healthier defensively, or they're taking a very deliberate approach, because I'm stunned Illinois didn't score in the 40s against Maryland. Now you look at Wisconsin. This Wisconsin team has just been going low-scoring games all season long. In fact, going through every Big Ten game they've been a part of, this is now 7 contests. They have not had a game reach 40 points. It's almost been an auto bet if you're getting something in the 40s to take the under in a Wisconsin game. Last week they played Indiana. That game finished 31-7. Indiana is the most potent offense in the sport. So to me, it's a very clear data point. If Indiana couldn't push a game into the 40s for Wisconsin, I don't know that Illinois or anyone can. I'm going to add 41.5 to my card as well. 2 back-to-back Big Ten unders to start. Last but certainly not least here, we turn our attention to the Missouri Tigers, and we're catching a very key football number here at plus 7.5. They're taking on the Oklahoma Sooners. 2 things here in terms of spot. Number 1, Missouri finally got right after a couple losses to Vanderbilt and Texas A&M, 2 top 17 teams in the sport. They played Mississippi State, hung 49 points on them, got some confidence back for their offense. But spot-wise, you've got to love looking at Oklahoma here as a potential letdown fade spot. They just beat Alabama at Alabama in this emotional last possession, get the big defensive stop game. If there was ever a we're going to let that high come crashing down spot, it's against Missouri a week later, against a Missouri team that really has been able to score points with anybody this year. I think this is a 1-score game. I think this is a game within a touchdown. Key number, 7.5. I love getting that. And I'm just going to play it as a spot bet. If the model shows value in something I show a great spot for, it's been very successful this season. So lock that in. 2 Big Ten unders, and then Missouri plus 7.5 are 3 best bets for college football this week. And yeah, you can see the edges and the probabilities there. The 2 unders, both a 6% edge. That's pretty massive in terms of high edges this season. Missouri a little bit less, only 2.5% edge there, but still a very high 55% probability at plus 7.5.
Love it. Thank you, Greg. I'm particularly looking forward to this one because surely I did not try to place these bets from memory this past week and take the under in Purdue, Washington. Definitely didn't happen. Whoever told you that made it up. So can't wait. Looking forward to another good one, Greg. Very good.
I love you, Dave. It's okay. Let's bounce back together. We can do this.
I am sure everyone listening to this has done that at some point.
Right. Throw us a like, throw us a subscribe. Click the subscribe button for us. We do this pod 2 days a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. We're making our way through football season, but as other sports are coming back for us, college basketball in full swing now, the NBA season in full swing, we're here to help you make money in whatever it is that you want to be betting in sports. So every piece of positive feedback you can give us helps. Give us a 5-star rating. Leave us a comment or a question, and I promise you we'll get to it. And hopefully we can continue to grow this show all season long. Let's turn to the NBA next. It's time for our King of the Court selections for tonight. What are we looking at, Dave?
Yes, it is. And we've had some very, very good success with the Dimers projections in this. Obviously, you can only pick one guy. We give you a few options, but I mean, we're giving you the short list with extreme prejudice. We've nailed the long shot twice. Last week we had the top 4 PRA finishers of the night were all featured in our targets. Just one guy didn't make it, Scotty Barnes, and he ran into early foul trouble, still managed a double-double, which was the plus money play that I used as my qualifying bet. So still left a winner. And this week we're back. We're going to try and get some more. Let me pull up our 5 guys to target this week, and we'll go through them. Just caveat with all this is with the Lakers. LeBron James is potentially returning tonight. He is in our projections. He's listed as questionable. You may want to factor that in as you choose, but this is what the projections are and how we're going off of these. If anything, that might just lower Luka's ceiling a bit, making it a little easier for other guys. But it's still going to be a tough hill to climb to beat the top guy based on projections alone. Anyway, Luka Doncic overall top guy versus the Jazz, projected at 48.8 PRA. He opened the season with a 64 PRA performance as the king of the court. He's cleared 50 in 6 of 9 games, top 60 twice. Massive scoring and assist upside. He also gets the boards. Highest ceiling on the slate by far. He's going to face the Jazz, who allow the 3rd most points and the most assists in the NBA. Cade Cunningham versus the Hawks, our 2nd highest projected total, 44.7 PRA. Is a game time decision after missing his last 3 games. He last played in a 46-12-11 explosion versus the Wizards, who are not playing tonight, but if they are, just take someone against the Wizards. Probably the safe way to go. Don't overthink it. Cunningham's at career high scoring and assists numbers right now. 7 double-doubles this season. He had 31 last year, so he's pushing that pace pretty early on. Strong assist-driven upside. He won King of the Court last year, returned a $420 bonus bet to yours truly. Granted, that was on a bigger slate, 10 or 12 games when they were doing this, so he won't be that big if you take him tonight just based on volume alone, or betting volume, that is. But Hawks defense does limit assists here, 25.9 allowed per game to opponents. That's about middle of the pack. Ranking top 10 in points allowed. So he's going to need like absolute peak efficiency, I think, to push the top PRA mark in this. But projections have him up there pretty high. 3rd, Devin Booker versus the Blazers, projected 38.9 PRA. He's our 3rd highest of the night. He peaked this season with 49 and 51. It's likely not enough to win this based on recent trends. 52 has been the lowest winner so far. Strong scoring averages from Book, but he's struggling a bit from 3. Looking at some 6-year lows in those numbers, actually. That would obviously be pretty critical to him hitting a high number, is knocking down the 3s. Great scoring matchup versus the Blazers' bottom 5 defense, though. However, they do allow the fewest assists to point guards, so probably limits his PRA upside. And as you can see, he's still projected for a 10 full below Luka. So the mountain to climb is going to be pretty tough for some of these guys tonight. Looking at another long shot target, I put Austin Reeves in here. Granted, outside the top 3, which are strictly our top projections, I'm doing a little bit of line reading and matchup stuff to pick these guys for the long shot targets and have had success with it so far. So I'm sticking with that for now. Again, LeBron James may be coming back, so apply that as you see fit. But we've got Reeves projected at 36.7 PRA. That's still the 6th highest mark in the slate. He has 2 games with over 50 this season, including a 71 PRA eruption. Those did come without Luka, of course. Still has 40 plus in more than one game with Luka active, facing a vulnerable Jazz defense, worst defense from 3-point allowing the most 3-pointers and the 2nd most attempts. Reeves has double-digit 3 attempts in, I think, 2 of his last 3 games. If the 3-point shot heats up, he has serious top scorer upside in this game. Probably going to be the guy I play. I'm going to wait and see about the LeBron James status. If not, I'll be playing our next guy, Jaylen Brown versus the Nets, projected 35.5 PRA, 7th highest on the slate, just behind Reeves. He's shown 50 PRA upside this season, 51 earlier this year, 49 in his last game. Nets are pretty weak across the board, 24th in points, 28th in assists, 21st in rebounds allowed. Jaylen Brown doesn't hit big rebounds and assist numbers nightly, so he's going to need like elevated totals there tonight to hit the ceiling. But pretty strong upside in a good matchup on paper for what should be a pretty decent bonus bet reward, at least compared to the top options of the night. There you have it. 5 King of the Court picks.
Love it. And thankfully for all of us, Nikola Jokic is not here for King of the Court tonight. So It actually truly means it's anybody's game. I think the top 3 makes sense to me. Doncic is obviously a monster when he gets going. And there's no reason to expect that he won't be. Cade's been amazing as a Michigander here watching the Pistons' emergence this season. He really is hitting a new ceiling that I wasn't even sure was there. Some of his numbers, too, have come without really being all that hot as a shooter. Like, he finds ways to get to the free throw line, and feel like that the career high game the last time he was out was what it looks like when he finally does start making some shots late in the game. But even that was like he didn't score for the whole second quarter and still finished with a line like that. So
Bizarre.
I think I'm on Cade, and I think I'm on Jaylen Brown as my long shot play. If I was going to go that direction, it would be JB over Reeves. I just think Luka's in the way for Austin Reeves still,
Yep. Yeah, it would take in a bit of an anomalous performance there, but never say never type of stuff.
It can happen, that's for sure. All right, thank you, Dave, for the intel as always for King of the Court. Let's talk some PGA real quick. It's the RSM Classic, the final event of the FedEx Cup Fall. This is always a bittersweet moment for golf fans. We're waiting until December when we have the Hero World Challenge on the site, but this is kind of it for golf fans looking for value from the dimer spot for a while.
Yep, pretty much putting it on the shelf till January after this. We'll have the Hero World Challenge if all is the same. We've had that last year. I've written up articles for that before. So we will have at least one more event for you. But until then, it'll be the next season in January, which honestly isn't that far away. Find me another off season with less than 2 months turnaround. Anyway, final chance for players to secure a top 100 FedEx Cup ranking, which gives you fully exempt status on the tour next year. Not going to touch on that really today, but I am planning to write an article for subscribers. It'll go on the site that looks at guys who are on the bubble, possibly finding some sneaky value on those right outside the top 100, maybe some guys to fade who are inside the top 100, and see if we could find a little bit extra bit of plays there. But try to go through this real quick here. This is at Sea Island Golf Course in Georgia. This will play on 2 different courses at the club. It's called the Seaside Course and the Plantation Course. The Plantation Course will play just 1 round. I believe that will be round 2. It might be split, actually. I should know that, but come the cut, the final 2 rounds will be on the Seaside Course, which is primarily featured here for this one. Very similar distance, 7,005 yards for Seaside, 7,060 for Plantation. Pretty stacked field compared to last week, certainly. 4 major champions in this. 10 winners from this year, 12 multi-time winners, reigning champ Maverick McNeely, and tight finishes are pretty common here. 4 of the last 6 decided by 1 stroke or less. It can't be 1 stroke, but yeah, 1 stroke. 3 playoffs as well in that span. Course is not overly difficult. Accuracy is pretty important. The fairways are wide, but there's a lot of water in play on the Seaside Course. A very high penalty rate on this course. I think one of the highest over the last 10 years. Distance isn't really as important since guys are just trying to land it on the fairway and avoid the water hazards and the out of bounds stuff. Approach pretty important here, though it is one of the easier courses to gain. But if you're good there, you're going to find very much success. Usually a big separator on this one is putting. I was doing some research. 38% of strokes gained by guys last year came on the greens, so expect a lot of separation to come there. Greens are fast, greens are sloped, so you want guys who are just straight up good with the putter. So let's look at our winners here. We've got 3 guys here. Actually, I'll pull up the predictions real quick so we can kind of go through this together. We have 3 winners right at the top with an edge, and they are not all the favorite golfers. We are aligned with the books with Harris English, who is the favorite here, but then we've got Brian Harmon and Denny McCarthy, who are above the book's next favorite of Siwoo Kim. So I'll just talk about these 3 guys real quick, and then we've got a long shot I'll touch on. Harris English, plus 2,300, 7.2% probability. That's fair at plus 1,290, so a really big value. I mean, 10-1 standalone value right there. He's threatens more often than he actually wins, but there's no denying a pretty impressive year this season. Won at the Farmers Insurance Open, pair of runner-ups in majors, one top 25 here since 2017, so not a ton of success at this course. Since his miscut in March, 9 top 20s or better, just very, very consistent. His ranks 50th off the tee, 74th in accuracy, nothing crazy, but he's above average. However, he's 17th overall in putting, which, as mentioned, is the big separator here. Not great on approach. He's pretty under average across the board there, so he'll kind of have to make up for it in between. But if he can get on the green in a good spot or even a tricky spot, he's probably going to shave off some strokes and climb the board. Brian Harmon, plus 3,000 here. 4.8 win percent probability would be fair, just under plus 2,000. So another value of 10 to 1. You put $10 on this guy, that's $100 difference between fair odds and the odds on the books. So, immense value from the model alone. This is the first time Harmon's golfed in the States since the Tour Championship. He did one DP World Tour event like a month ago, finished T26 there. Local to Georgia here, so maybe he's playing on some home turf a little bit. He went T10, T22, T19, and T13 since the Open through the Tour Championship, so pretty successful and consistent. Pretty mid-ranked in all major categories here. Strength lies in accuracy, but he's not the best finisher. So, probably find himself in contention late, but the model's got some very good value on him here. Third guy we'll look at, one of the better golfers on PGA Tour who hasn't won, Denny McCarthy, 4.3% win probability here. Not quite as much value as the rest. Fair at plus 22.25. Hasn't really competed in like 3 months, basically, but 10 top 25s this year, pair of top 10s, 5th ranked putter on tour. Very, very good putter. 58th overall on approach, which is above average. And he's right at average off the tee. So if he just has a very Denny McCarthy weekend, he should find himself in contention. And then just needs to go one step above that to get the win and add something to his repertoire that he hasn't had yet.
We could all only be so lucky to have a Denny McCarthy weekend this weekend, Dave.
I think any of us would relish a Denny McCarthy weekend on even our best golf day. And we got one long shot down here I want to look at. Ryan Gerard, 1.3%. That's really low, obviously, but fair at plus 7,590, 7,600 or so. 3 top 10s, 10 top 25s this year. He won at the Barracuda Championship, which uses a totally unique scoring format. Where you actually want more points. You get points for your like a double eagles, like 8 points, and eagles 5 points, stuff like that. So it rewards guys who like take risks. And he won that one, taking all the risks. So he was incentivized to take those risks and go for it, and he was rewarded. So very accurate driver and approach. Not a very good putter though. Plus 9,000 for a reason. 1.3%. You put a couple bucks here, and if he pulls off the upset, you're looking pretty good. Only thing I will add besides that is obviously we'll have a little bit more insights in our article. If any more value pops up, check that on site. Just that the top 3 guys don't really have any crazy value in ladders, but they're all about fair odds all the way through. So if you're looking for alternatives to outright winners, you can bet them. The model is aligned with them, but just no real edges to speak of. As you can see, I'll just click through real quick. You got no flames, but this is about fair here. So something to be done.
Important note, you got to know where you're betting, where you can find the value here. And honestly, on that note, shout out to Bet Rivers for the golf odds. Feels like all the value plays here coming courtesy of Bet Rivers this week. Love to see that. Not
uncommon, especially with the outrights. Placements, we see a lot of the other stuff, primarily DraftKings. But Bet Rivers usually gets a little bit better for the outrights.
Fascinating. Good to know. All right. Well, there you go. There is your preview for the RSM Classic. Hopefully you can make some money one more time before the FedEx Fall ends. Let's close the show with what else is on Dimers this week.
What's on Dimers this week?
We've got another champ, Dave. Who is it?
We do have another champ. Actually, let me hit the champ transition for him because I did that out of order.
The pro champ of the
week. We gave you a double lead in. All right, so we had a special champ of the week this week. Dimers Pro Survivor McShady81 has outlasted 32 others in the Dimers Pro Survivor pool to be crowned the champion. They will win a free year of Dimers Pro as the predetermined prize, an exclusive Discord badge that I have to make for him and upload into Discord. And of course, Dimers Discord and Hall of Fame immortality was an excellent run. Pull up his plays here. All the picks did not come easy. Had to the Bears comeback in week 10 ultimately decided it. Was when the final person was eliminated. But you got a Cardinals win, Rams, Seahawks, Bills, Lions, Packers, Patriots, Bucks, Chargers, and Bears through the 10 weeks. Absolutely great. Well done. Really fun one to do for the first time. Pretty much this in this format, this large of a pool. So it was a good time. And we still got our Pick'ems contest going strong. So that's still happening. We'll have another winner to crown before the season, or will come the end of the season. But for now, shout out McShady81. Good job taking down the whole Dimers Pro pool. Hats off to you. And one more. We got a guy, probably a familiar name for some here. Dimers intern, Tony Parlay in the Discord. Still hanging around, still sharing plays, still spreading the love. Cashed a plus 906 Cowboys Raiders SGP last night, featuring two of our top TD scorers, our spread pick, and a boost. Cowboys fan, was at the game, paid for his ticket with a parlay in person. Great stuff. We love to see it, and we love to shout you guys out all the time.
There's nothing better than being present for a game you're attending, realizing you covered all expenses with your bet on the game you're attending. Tony Parlay, you have my respect, my friend. That's impressive. And simple reminder, simple plug here, join the Discord. All this fun stuff's going on in the Dimers Discord. We would love to see you be a part of it if you're listening to this and you're not. Some people get spooked, I feel like, too, by just not understanding what Discord is. I've had this in my other job ecosystem as well. It's really easy to figure out. If you don't have a Discord account, don't worry about it. Don't freak out about it. It's all in an app you can get on your phone. And it's basically just a chat-based interface. You'll enjoy interacting with everybody on our Dimers team and a bunch of great people trying to use our model to win some bets along the way. So there's your selfish. Join the Dimers Discord plug. Please do it. We'd love to see you in there. What else is going on this week?
Yeah, so pretty much the usual stuff. PGA predictions, updating after every round, NBA and NHL nightly with our weekly model reports, college hoops in full swing, Greg's favorite, Maction tonight and tomorrow, of course. We've got it all, folks. Dimers.com. Dimers Pro.
50% off, promo code podcast. Okay, another great episode, Dave. Thank you for all the preparation on this. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening, folks. Gamble responsibly out there. We will be back on Thursday for a deep dive into our full NFL card and plays for the weekend. We'll see you then.